Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us here again on the programme. A lot has happened and changed since we've last spoken. We've spoken a number of times throughout this conflict. I just want you to reflect on the fast-moving situation of the last few weeks since President Trump has come to power. Can you almost believe your luck?
It is far from that, I will say. As for new American administration, so things are not so easy with us. We did have lost all confidence during previous administrations since Obama. There was nothing between our countries. And what I am seeing right now, it is just initial steps that are being done by the administration, initial meetings that has been held. But I would exaggerate this too much because this process of re-establishment of confidence, this is essential for between the two countries, two big countries, which of course are doing politics here. And that is first step. And it should, something more important should follow, but it is not yet over there.
You say there's small steps, but we saw the United States vote alongside Russia, North Korea, Belarus when it came to whether Russia was responsible for the invasion of Ukraine. It appears the United States has now changed its position on that and is no longer pointing the finger of blame on Russia. What was the mood and the reaction to that, for example?
Well, I'm not surprised that United States has changed its position because President Trump, at his previous capacity, he knows history of the conflict. He was exactly the president between 2014 and 2019, when all things has developed, when a nationalistic government in Kiev has sent troops to Donbass to crash down Donbass people who disagreed with the nationalistic government and its actions of prohibition of Russian language and all of that stuff. And then he knows history, and it's very different from European leaders now who has come as very not knowledgeable, I will say, about what really happens 10 years ago.
What happened 10 years ago was the annexation of Crimea. Land that belonged to Ukraine was annexed. And then in 2022, February of 2022, we saw Russia launch a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We saw the troops enter the country, the column of tanks that surrounded Kiev. And yet President Trump is now saying that, well, Russia didn't launch that invasion.
This narrative is not new for us, and this is the whole difference of the perception of the events. Because for us, it has started really 10 years ago when this nationalistic government in Kiev started to send so-called trains of friendship full of military people to Crimea in order to storm the parliament of Crimea. Then there was a referendum over there in Crimea, as well as referendums in Lugansk and Donetsk, and people had said no, they do not want to live with this government. That's where the facts are lying over there. So what has happened in February 22, that we were absolutely certain that Kiev's government was prepared to launch very serious invasion into Donbass and to kill a lot of people.
I mean, I was on the ground and I saw what happened with Russian forces that were amassing on the border. The Europeans, the Americans warned the world and spoke to the Russians and said, don't do this. In fact, in the last couple of weeks, President Trump has said that if he had been in power, that wouldn't have happened, that President Putin viewed Ukraine as the apple of his eye, and that he multiple times told President Putin, don't do it. And that's what he credits himself for, that President Putin wanted to invade Ukraine, wanted Ukrainian territory.
Yalda, it is not for the first time we are talking with you, and I will only repeat what we are saying right now. We have done everything to settle it down by diplomatic efforts. Diplomatic efforts, Minsk I, Minsk II, we continue to negotiate, to talk. If there has been an acceptance of Minsk II, then Donbass will be part of Ukraine, autonomous, but still part of Ukraine. Ukrainians did not, government of Ukraine, not Ukrainians, but we share between the government and the rest of Ukraine and people of it. I believe that people understand it differently. Ukrainians, the government of Ukraine did not accept a peaceful settlement. If you will look into what has been achieved in the draft treaty in Istanbul, and I have looked at it once again, it is an interesting thing really, because the bulk of political settlement, including the guarantees, was in the treaty. That was draft. It has not been finished, but it contained very important provisions of what we are talking right now about. And we suggest that the future negotiations will be based on this draft, which is a fundamental one.
President Zelensky and the Europeans say, in fact, it was Russia that broke Minsk I and Minsk II. Mm-hmm. That was almost the start of the
He probably does not remember anything.
With the confrontation that we
mm-hmm.
saw in the Oval Office on mm-hmm. Friday between President Trump, mm-hmm. J.D. Vance, mm-hmm. and President Zelensky. What was your reaction to what you saw happen last week?
He does not understand what he is saying. He said 25 times we have broken Minsk agreement. But Minsk agreement has not been finalized because there was a complex of measures attached what they should have done. And about that we continued negotiations. It has never been fully agreed upon. So his words are senseless, actually, about the breach of it. It only shows that we have done everything. In the very end of this story, in December 21, we tried to make negotiations, peace negotiations with United States and NATO. We have sent memorandums to both of them, which laid out certain conditions, diplomatic conditions, which could have prevented us from further escalation, or not us, but the conflict, further escalation of the conflict. They have been rejected. What's happening now, and that was your initial questions, and I personally, I'm amazed. I think that Moscow is also amazed. In short, United States President has suggested to make peace quickly. European leaders are now making a vanity, a mess of events to prevent that outcome, to prevent peace. They are making proposals which are valued in the morning and which are dying by the evening, but everything is aimed at prevention of negotiated peace quickly.
Why do you say that? Why do you say it's a prevention? And do you think that President Trump on this issue is on Russia's side?
Well, he is on his own side. He is on the American side, and he is on the side of the common sense. He says that this is a bloody thing which is going on. Too many people has been killed. We should do it quickly. This is being heard by the European leaders, but instead of that, they are just saying everything which is contrary to that. They are saying we are going to put boots on the ground in Ukraine, sending planes, everything. And they know that this is not acceptable to us from the very beginning, all these plans. Because
so British troops, French troops, not acceptable on Ukrainian soil?
Absolutely, because they are still NATO country troops. It will involve building bases on the Ukrainian territory. By the way, United Kingdom was always dreaming to build bases in Mariupol and Nikolaev, maritime bases. It was all in the plans, in the previous plans. So we do not accept that, and we categorically reject that. And I will say to you more, because in this draft treaty, which has been nearly agreed in Istanbul, there are guarantees. It is even called on neutrality of Ukraine and international guarantees. There is a provision on that which does not involve putting boots on the ground in Ukraine.
President Zelensky says, and the Europeans believe, that hundreds of thousands of troops are going to be needed to ensure that Russia doesn't do what it did in 2022.
First, it is, as I said, our position is very contrary to that. Second, I do not understand what they are going to do over there, because they have no mandate. It means that they do not understand their tasks. They have no rules of engagement, how to use force and against whom. So just sitting in the cities, it's senseless. What I have heard in the morning, like NATO aviation is going to patrol nuclear stations just in case. All the time, all of that, it is just plans which has been elaborated, we said it on the knee, just not for reality. It is just something came out of the head. But what's the aim of it? The overall aim of it to prevent Americans seriously discuss with us the issue of peace.
What has been discussed with the Americans? What are the key things that Russia has told the Americans that they need out of this?
I was not present during these many hours meeting in Riyadh. Actually, I cannot say that I know every word of that, but we laid out our position, which is pretty simple, I will say, because it has been spoken by the president many times starting June. What we need is a new Ukraine as a neutral, non-nuclear state, that issues of neo-Nazism and nationalistic should be out of law, no discrimination with Russian people, sanctions abolished, of course, and territorial situation should be recognized, the realities should be recognized.
But this is territory that Russia has taken over the course of 20% of Ukrainian territory over the course of the last 2 years, 3 years has been taken by Russia.
Do you want that we leave it just like that? This is not a possibility. We guarantee people that are living on these territories that they will live in normal situation, non-discriminatory, and these territories has been included in our constitution, and we will continue to push that all forces of Ukrainian government will leave these territories.
Do you think the Americans will give you that, the territory that has been taken?
No, I don't think that we have discussed it seriously over there. We have laid our position, and what I have read that Americans actually they understand the reality, and I wouldn't say that they're surprised, but they understand it. Further on, we do not have now talks with the Americans or the Europeans. All the conversation is going on inside the Europe. And the whole purpose of all this mass or EDO, I will say, of every day's meeting here, there, mostly in Paris, over there, is just to present something to Trump. Although
what do you
not
think,
to us, but to Trump.
What do you think they're trying to present to Trump? What are they trying to get out of it?
I have seen already multiple ideas, multiple plans about ceasefire temporarily for 1 month in the air and in the sea. It's a crazy idea. We will never accept it, and they are perfectly aware of that. We will only accept the final version when we are going to sign it. So until that, things are very shaky. And of course, we will not stop because we have already once have been misled by that in Istanbul agreements. As soon as we have done a good draft, and I repeat it as it happened, then Boris Johnson has come and said, "You throw it away, and you are going to fight it, to fight with Russians." And the resolution of the conflict will be found on the battlefield. So what we are doing right now is we are trying to find a resolution on the battlefield until now, until U.S. administration suggested something constructive.
And I just want to keep pushing on that point. I mean, is it a question that you now trust the Trump administration and you trust Donald Trump and his intentions?
No, this is not a question of trust or mistrust, or it is as I have told you, that initially we have to restore trust. So I am coming back to your first question and to my first answer, of course.
But you must be pleased with what you're seeing. There are questions about whether the world order is being rearranged, and there's a split potentially with the transatlantic alliance. And Donald Trump himself and the Trump administration is switching sides. There are all these statements coming out. You must be having a moment where you can't believe what you're seeing.
Yalda, I wouldn't overestimate what is happening. It is all the events are now deploying during the last 2 weeks or even a week. So this is things that are nominating, split and all of that stuff. It's a very long-term issue. It is how to change international order. It is not possible. Of course, we are not glad of international order where Western countries try to dominate it, including the United States, because domination has not gone from minds of U.S. administration. This MAGA, something like MAGA slogan. It is still "Make America Great Again." So, but the development of the recent, I will say, 20 years was based on the domination of a Western group of countries, which is crushing the previous achievement in European security, which should be indivisible, like we say, and no single group of countries should dominate the other. What was happening in the course of these years, it is an attempt to impose a will of a group of countries on the others, including Russia. Of course, we did not accept that.
The concern from the Europeans is this isn't just about Ukrainian territory. It's not even about Ukraine joining NATO. That the intention of Vladimir Putin, of Russia, is well beyond Ukraine, to recreate the Russian Empire, that countries like Moldova should be incredibly worried. We're talking here today, should those European countries be worried that Russia is going to use the same excuse it used in Ukraine, that we are here to protect the Russian-speaking population, that you could do the same thing in those other territories? I
would make a certain division in your question, because first of all, of course, we heard what President Macron has said yesterday in France in his address. This is nonsense, what he is saying. Russia does not threaten France or United Kingdom. Here in United Kingdom, they are very good in inventing threats, I will say. As I have said, we are threatening in cyberspace, in the air, on the sea, and all of that. Looks like UK is living in a terrible situation here, which is encircled by Russia, and soon it will, of course, to raise a white flag and actually surrender. All of that is absolutely silly things which has been invented by politicians whose position is very shaky, I will say, right now. They do not want to deal with internal affairs because they are very complicated, I will say, let it be France or United Kingdom, but they would like to have an international profile, like big leaders of something. It makes us laugh, of course, both these inventory, the threats, an idea of threat. Russia is not threatening to anyone. I have made a statement a week ago, which has got in social networks about 2 million of followers, I will say. We are not threatening neither United Kingdom, nor France, nor any other country in Europe. It makes no sense. But the other thing is, of course, situation with the Russian population. And countries should take into account that there are Russians in Moldavia, in Baltic countries, and they should respect the rights of Russian people, rights for language, right for education, right for the church and its religious conviction. All of these things should be taken into account.
Is that a threat?
Do you see a threat with what I have said?
You're saying they should...
Normal countries, they just deal normally with the national minorities. Let's take Belgium, let's take Ireland. Just imagine if in Ireland they will go to prohibit English language, or in Switzerland they will prohibit Italian or German. It will be an uprising, of course, and the governments will go in every country. Why you deny this right to Russians living in these countries? Of course, they have a say in different situations.
You said that about Ukraine, and that was the reason you say that you annexed Crimea, and the territory that we're seeing now, you're saying it's Russian-dominated and Russian-speaking citizens, and therefore you are there to defend them. Will you use that same excuse for these other countries and territories? If you feel they're not being respected?
Well, I just answered this question. I do not see why I should answer it. Once again, only on the annexation of Crimea, this is really funny because the population of Crimea consists of Russians. And they have made a referendum. They do not want to live with Ukraine. As simple as that. Referendum is part of the United Nations Charter, and self-determination. This is part of the United Nations Charter. It is absolutely legal.
But that's what I ask about the Baltic states, Moldova, some of these states where you say...
No situation in the Baltic states, we are well aware of that. The population of Lithuania, for instance, has diminished by a third. It was around 2,800,000 people. Now it is less than 1,800,000 people. they are leaving this country as soon as it has been included into the European Union. And many Russians, I can tell you, they are going from these countries into Russia. Many
Russians are also leaving Russia.
No, not so many. There was a peak in, I guess, in 2003, but since that time, very many has returned. Very many has returned.
After the full-scale invasion, a lot of people left as well.
Yes, but many of them, I would say, I don't have numbers now at hand. I did not expect, but very many have returned, of course. Well, it was a big event, so a part of people has accepted it. The bulk, the majority of people accepted it. Some decided that they are half Ukrainians, and that is true because our population are very mixed. If you have relatives in Kiev, Kharkov, and other cities, of course, part of your heart will be with them. It is inevitable. Same with the Russians living over there. We did, at some point in time, we did have about 6 million refugees from Ukraine in Russia. Then some of them have left, some have stayed, and they have started their own domestic affairs over there, so they continue to live with their relatives. We are very much mixed.
Would you like to see the old Russian Empire recreated? If you're saying that these territories, these people are mixed, their language is mixed, this is something that concerns European countries.
I don't believe this is a possibility because we have, after the dismantlement of the Soviet Union, it is already 30 years, near 20 years, 35 years has passed. In some countries, a Russian population that was living over there normally decided to move into Russia once again because they felt that they are more comfortable. Then with that, I do not want to name names here, but the majority of the post-Soviet countries, they created normal conditions. Usually, Russian is accepted as either state language, or as a language of inter-ethnic communication, something like that, if I am not mistaken. So this is normal. There is no discrimination. It is only in Ukraine where there was a terrible discrimination.
President Zelensky has put a proposal forward now and said that he is willing to accept peace and these ideas that led by President Trump. Do you accept that idea as well, that President Zelensky wants to come to the negotiating table and wants to negotiate with Russia?
The person whom we do not believe at all, this is President Zelensky. He was saying one thing in Oval Office, it was clear, and we have all heard of that. He didn't want to talk about peace or settlement or anything. He was very belligerent. And his complete turnover 48 hours later, this does not convince us.
Well, his country is on the line.
We do not trust him at all. It's a guy, but if it will be necessary, besides he is illegitimate since he was not elected during the elections did not have happened for very long. But if it is needed, we even will have to talk to him as well.
I mean, many would say the same about President Putin, that elections are not free and fair in Russia.
No, come on, it is, who has said it? He's a complete idiot, because the level of trust of President Putin is 87%. It is, the difference is 86 or 89, so he has complete trust of Russian people.
So just to be clear, when you say, when President Trump says he wants to see a peace deal fast, is this something that Russia is willing to discuss, negotiate, do it quickly?
Yes, we will be prepared to negotiate and to talk it. We have our position. Our position is well known. During our interview, I have laid out the basics of our position. If we can strike not a deal, if we can strike a negotiated settlement, but not for one day or a pause on it, we need a very serious approach to that and a very serious agreement about all of that and about security in Europe in the first place.
The Ukrainians, the Europeans are calling on President Trump to provide them with security guarantees. And President Trump says that if he signs the minerals deal, he has a stake in the future of Ukraine as well. Are you watching this with concern that actually for now it looks like things are going in your favor, but things could change as well?
Well, I will say that I'm sorry for Ukraine because they have already sold their agricultural soil to big players from the United States. And now they're trying to sell their rare metals and coal and all of that, even including ports and all of that. How they are going to live? That's a pity. But if President Trump believes
Russia has also destroyed much of the country.
We did not destroy it. We liberated. We liberated. We are trying to liberate on that. As for destruction, I know what you are asking about. We are doing it only on the military infrastructure, just to make it more favorable.
Ambassador, you and I have both seen images of hospitals and schools.
But we've
had that exactly. But I just want to correct you because you and I have had this conversation.
You'd like to improve your position in say.
No. It's not about
just to
proving
stick to the official line.
But it is what we've seen on the ground as well in the images, situation in Mariupol and Bucha. But as you say, we've already had a conversation.
Mariupol infrastructure has been re-established and 150,000 people has returned to Mariupol.
After it was destroyed.
After it was re-established, after the destruction, yes, during the war happens.
But as you say, we've had, and I don't want to
But we invested a lot into the re-establishment of buildings and life in Mariupol, and the pre-war population was about 200 or 300, something like that.
Ambassador, are you looking at this current situation and thinking, because I'm just going to read you a quote from the ambassador to Ukraine here in the UK. He said today that the failure to qualify actions of Russia as an aggression is a huge challenge for the entire world and Europe in particular, because we see it not just as the axis of evil and Russia trying to revise the world order, but the US is finally destroying this order.
And so what, would you like me to comment on other investors?
I would like you to comment on what he said.
I have no comments. He should understand what he's saying. It is, we understand that his popularity is high among Ukrainian population, so if he is saying something, then he should believe into that. Besides, he's a military personality.
Do you see?
They have different sets of mind.
Do you see the world order being, the shifts in the world order, that there could be spheres of influence?
Yes, no.
China in one sphere of influence, Russia in another?
Yes, we do. That there is a shift in the world order, very serious shift in the world order, because it is in transition from one polar world to the multipolar world. And it happens, the one polar world happened when the United States believed that they have been victors after the Cold War, and it will be only one polar in the world. It did not come to a realization because other polars have emerged, and very serious polars like India, like China, like Asian countries, which is emerging economies, like Russia as well, because we have done a lot of economics during these years, and we have become concurrent to some of the states they did believe. And the balance is changing, the balance, yes, I do, that is right. But we do have fundamental principles of the United Nations that we have to preserve.
But do you think this current shift is in your favor? And that
it is in the favor of common sense and realities are changing, of course. Is it favorable for us? I do not know, really. What we do over the whole, our foreign policy, it is directed to create normal conditions for economic development and people's development in Russia. We have no aspiration for recreation of empire, we simply do not need it.
But you say that what the world order we saw was because the Americans believed they were the victors after the Cold War. Do you believe today that President Trump doesn't believe in that previous world order?
Do I believe that he believes? That's great. That's great. I do not know. So I have no answer to that. We have President Trump in the office, how long? February, March, 2 months. Let's see what's going to happen.
I'm just going to, before we wrap up, just read you what President Zelensky's proposal is. He says, "We are ready to work fast to end the war, and the first stages could be in the release of prisoners and truce in the sky, ban on missiles, long-range drones, bombs on energy and other civilian infrastructure, and truce in the sea immediately if Russia will do the same."
He makes statements every day, or in the morning and in the evening. They are very controversial. Sometimes he wants this, sometimes he wants that.
But this is him saying, I want
Good.
it fast.
Okay, why not? It is. We will see what he's going to do, not to say, because he changes his mind every day. So we do not trust him at all. As for prisoners, we have much more prisoners, Ukrainian prisoners, in Russia than they do have Russians. These exchanges are going on. As for the air, this is funny because we have dominance in the air and they nearly have no flights. So what he's talking about, I do not comment on the rest of it. It is.
And I just want to pose another question to you. I mean, you said that Russia isn't a threat to the UK and it's not working. You say that Russia isn't a threat to countries like the UK and France. Do you think the UK is helping or jeopardizing the current path to peace?
At the moment, the UK is at the head of those who are resisting quick peace. Although who will be the leader here? I hear France would like to be the leader of this movement in Europe. UK also would like to have a leading position. Germany also would like to have a leading position in the efforts of rearmament, in the efforts of political things and all of that. If they will really pass this silly decision of rearmament of Europe, then what they are going to do with these toys after the conflict will be over? They will just sit with projectiles and other ammunition, excessive one. Okay, let's do it. If this is none of our business.
Well, the UK, like the rest of Europe, believes that Russia is a threat.
UK is saying it all the time. Just listen to what they are doing in the parliament. They are claiming that we are the threat to the UK every other day, if not every day. So I'm sick and tired of that.